I want to make a video about 3 books that I have recently read that I really enjoyed. I usually don't give book reviews, but I throughout a year I do read a lot of all kinds of books, but I do read novels, and I especially want to mention these 3 novels that I have read over the last several months that I really enjoyed reading. And that's why I'm making a video. I've been thinking, why do these novels, did I enjoy them? I mean, to be honest, I can read a novel and I don't finish it. It doesn't hold my attention, and I find it gets boring, or it doesn't seem to go anywhere, and so I don't finish it. Now, sometimes I'll read a novel and I won't finish it, and I'll go back later and I'll finish it. But I just want to mention these 3 novels. Now, the last one I read that I really enjoyed reading was the novel Bliss by Peter Carey. Carey is an Australian writer, and I really enjoyed this novel. Now, why did I enjoy this novel? Well, I like the character. One of the main characters, his name is Harry Joy. And it takes place in Australia, and it's the story of Harry Joy and his dysfunctional family. And I'm not going to tell you about the book so much. I will read here. It says in the back, Bliss, the novel, is an artful, subtle, funny, sad, and visionary story of Harry Joy, husband, father, successful advertising man in subtropical Australian city, who dies for some minutes during a coronary heart attack, while his spirit floats free of his body, lying prostrate on the suburban lawn. Harry recognizes the world he has been living in for 39 years as hell. Upon his return to life, his wife Bettina, angered by his refusal to allow her to work for the firm, engages in an affair with one of his employees. Their son and daughter are involved with drugs and sexually with each other. Manufacturers of carcinogens are among his agency's clients. The people around him are dishonest, brutal, and hypocritical, with one exception, Honey Barbara, a hippie flower child from the outback, who comes to town just as Harry is dismantling his business by purging it of evil, and whose tender erotic feelings for Harry is returned in kind. The family commits Harry to a mental hospital. Love is lost and regained, and finally the lovers achieve an alternative life that may be Harry's heaven. So in the novel Bliss, Harry has this heart attack, and he wakes up and he thinks he's in hell. And all around him, he thinks there's people, he's in hell. And so he decides that his business, his company, it's an advertisement company, which is promoting, you might say, pollutants, things that cause cancer. He decides to dismantle the business. Well, his wife and this person that works for him decide that they want to get rid of him. So they put him in a mental hospital because they say he's crazy because he's going around doing all these crazy things. People that he's in hell, and that his business is evil, and that he's dismantling it, and he's just going to sell everything. So he winds up, but while he's going through this, Harry meets this prostitute which she comes to town and she sells the marijuana crop that they grow way out in the jungle. And when she's in town selling the marijuana, she prostitutes herself. I know, it's kind of strange. So anyway, Harry winds up, and Harry and Barbara wind up together, and they start a relationship. But then Harry gets committed to a mental hospital by his wife and this shady business guy. And so the story, the thing about the novel is that you're wondering if they're ever going to get back together again. How is Barbara, honey Barbara, going to get back together with Harry now that Harry's committed to a mental hospital? So that's kind of like, it's kind of like a love story. It has, it's very funny, but it's kind of surrealistic. But it's now as you get towards the end of the novel, it becomes more and more, it's just a love story, and I really enjoyed reading it. I liked the characters, I liked the story, I liked the pace of the novel, the way it was structured. It was funny. It was really a good novel, so I enjoyed that one. Before that, I read this one by Elizabeth Strout, Amy and Isabel. And this novel is really good. I read it. I didn't put it down. I finished it, and it's also about Amy and Isabel. Now, it says here, in most ways, Isabel and Amy are like mother and her 16-year-old daughter. Now, if I remember correctly, the mother's name, I think, is Isabel. Anyway, they live in this small town. It's in Maine, and Isabel and Amy, I can't remember the mother's name. I said Amy or Isabel. Anyway, it's really a good story. It's about this mother and daughter. They move to this small town, and there's a secret in the mother's life, and you don't really know what it was. But what happens is that the daughter gets involved in a sexual relationship with one of her teachers at school, and so there's this estrangement, and you wonder how it's all going to turn out in the end. Is the daughter going to get straightened out? But also, there's this secret going on in the mother's life, that something happened in the past, and you're wondering what that is. And as the novel unfolds, you find out what happened and how it changed her life, and why there's no man in her life, no father, no husband. And it's really a good novel about a small town, the people in the town, their lives. It's very moving. The mother works in this office, and she works with other women, and you get to know the other women in the office and their lives, what they're going through. And it's just really a great novel. It's great characters, great story. I really enjoyed it, and I really highly recommend it. It's Amy and Isabel by Elizabeth Strout. So I really recommend this one. So yeah, I recommend that. And then I read this one this last year, The Odd Woman by Gail Godwin. This is another novel about a woman who, it says here, Jane Clefford is unmarried, a professor of English who is more secure in the world of literature than in life. When her beloved grandmother dies, Jane's journey home to the south for the funeral becomes an odyssey in which she confronts her married lover, her feminist best friend, and ultimately herself, and the choices she has made that perpetuate her separateness and her oddness. Yeah, in this story, this woman, she's Jane. She goes home because in the South, I think she's working in some Ivy League school. In the East, she teaches English lit, and she goes home to bury her grandmother, and she's very close to her grandmother. So it's a novel about Jane, but it's also a novel about her mother and her grandmother. But also Jane is kind of odd because she has this love affair with this other professor way in another town, another city. And every couple of times a year, they meet together in some hotel or some city, and they have sex. But she's always wondering. The guy never, this professor, he never talks about his wife or his family or anything. And she's wondering, well, how should I continue this relationship with this guy that's really going nowhere? So you have, the novel is a lot of her just thinking about this relationship with this professor that's going nowhere, and thinking about her life and remembering her grandmother and her relationship with her mother. And her father had died in the Second World War, and the mother had married another guy. So, but it's a really good, I like the character, Jane. I like the pace of the novel. I really enjoyed reading it. And I really highly recommend The Odd Woman. I like also the intelligence, the intellectual tone of the novel. And it has all kinds of twists and turns in it, that a lot of layers. And I really enjoyed reading it. And I really recommend Gail Godwin, The Odd Woman. So I really recommend these novels. I really enjoyed reading them. Amy and Isabel, Elizabeth Strout. I really enjoyed that. And I really enjoyed Bliss by Peter Carey. So look them up on the internet. Read on, usually when I get a novel, I read reviews in Amazon, and other sites. So check these novels out. I really recommend them. I am still reading Gloria, and by Keith Millard. I'm really enjoying this. It's a long novel, but I've been finding that. And I got this novel in the mail today, Stone Arabia by Diana Spataya. And so I plan to read this after I read this. Sometime this year I hope to read that. So I just want to mention it out, because I read novels, and I find I like novels with narrative, with plot, with character, that has a goal, that has a purpose. And I suppose I don't really care, first of all, for postmodern novels. Like I was reading that Infinite Jest. I haven't given up on Infinite Jest, but I find it doesn't go anywhere. There's no character development. There's no story. There's no plot. There's no movement. It's just kind of an intellectual head trip. So I just gonna keep reading these Gloria, and that's it. Telephone's ringing, so I'll end now.